We have some more breaking news from the NHL. We have another trade involving the Kraken and the Avalanche. We have 3 more buyouts confirmed, and we have some signings, including some big ones like Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals. We'll discuss all the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some more breaking news here to discuss from the NHL. We have first up a trade that just happened moments ago, broken by Kevin Weeks of the NHL Network. The Seattle Kraken have traded one of their many defensemen. They've traded 6'5", 230 plus pound Kurtis MacDermind to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for a 2023 fourth round selection. This is a terrific pickup by the Avalanche, especially after losing Ryan Graves and trading him so they didn't lose him in the expansion draft. They already needed some additional physicality and toughness back there. They lose Graves, so the situation gets worse, and now they can start to recover from that. Obviously, guys like Makar and Girard, and even Devon Toews, like they're great puck movers, really quick, good skaters, but they're not overly huge or physical. I know Samuel Girard did get pushed around a fair bit in some of those series, especially against Vegas. So ultimately, this is a great pickup. McDermott's kind of a monster back there at 6'5", 230. They only give up a 4th round pick. He's not making a ton of money. He's only got a cap hit of $875 for 1 more year. Even if he remains there and gets a bit of a raise, it's not going to be a crazy contract. He's still, only in his mid-20s. A guy who took his time, played a lot in the minors. He's played about 118 games with the LA Kings over the past few years. So certainly capable of being a third pair guy who can play on the PK, and a guy who can clear the front of the net, be tough in the corners, and just make life miserable for some of their opponents. So to me, this is a terrific pickup for the Avs. When it comes to the Kraken, they've got numerous defensemen who are, big in stature, can play physical, so I knew they were going to likely trade at least one of them. They can't have them all be monsters back there. They need somebody who can skate and move the puck. So I wonder if they will end up keeping Vince Dunn. We'll have to see. There's been some talk about him. He needs a new contract. Obviously, you think Giordano, Larson, and Alexiak are pretty much a given to be there opening night given their contract statuses, but the rest are certainly questionable on how they're going to finish rounding out their decor. So McDermott will indeed move on. Now, as I mentioned as well, we have 3 more buyouts confirmed, and this will close the first buyout window for this offseason. So obviously teams that will have another opportunity if they have players go through arbitration, they can consider another buyout after that. But otherwise, the buyout window is temporarily closed for now. So the Edmonton Oilers did indeed buy out James Neal. So Neal had 2 more years left in his contract. So with the James Neal buyout, they saved $3.8 million this year and next year. So that gives them some much added flexibility. But after that, they'll have 2 additional years tacked on at $1.9 million as dead cap space. So, obviously that's 3 and 4 years out. Hopefully we'll have at least some small increases in the cap by then, and the Oilers can be further ahead, but it's something that was necessary. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see Koskinen get bought out. I wonder what they're going to do if they can find a trade for him, even if they can retain a bit of money, because to me, he needs to go as well, but we'll see what the Oilers do. A buyout is no longer going to be possible in that scenario. The Vancouver Canucks, though, did buy out goaltender Braden Holtby. They were trying really hard to trade him so that they wouldn't have to go down this road. Apparently, they were willing to retain around $500K or so of salary, but that was the max they could do. And now they go down the road of a buyout since they could not find a trade to work things out. It's already talking about that Holtby's getting interest already for potential new suitors, new contracts. Since he only had 1 year left on his contract, they'll only be tied to this for 2 more years. They saved $3.8 million this year, and they'll have a dead cap space the year after of 1.9. Now, there's already rumors circulating that the Canucks might be looking at former Bruins backup Jaro Halak. Of course, Halak has worked his way around the league with a variety of teams, played with the Habs and the Blues as well, the Islanders for a while. So we'll see if he ends up being their guy to work with Thatcher Demko or not. But depending on what they spend on it, you have to wonder if it was really the right move. But we'll find out soon enough here as free agency gets underway tomorrow. The other buyout, which is the most expensive of the bunch, was goalie Martin Jones in San Jose. So we'll see if he lands on his feet and goes to any new teams. But obviously they get 3... He has 3 years remaining on his contract, so they will save cap space for those 3 years and then have 3 additional years tacked on of dead cap space. They will have savings of 3.8, 3.3, and then 2.8 followed by 3 years of $1.6 million. So it's the beginning of the Sharks moving forward, but they still have their other fair share of not so great contracts. But those 3 players are all guys that we talked about in our buyout video that was just posted here in the last 48 hours. I'm surprised there wasn't a few more, but these are all players we fully suspected could likely end up going down this road. Now, as I mentioned, we also have some signings to announce, and there's some big ones, including the great 8 Alex Ovechkin, who we fully suspected would remain with the Capitals. It was not shocking that it took them, up to this point to get it done, to get an announcement out, but he signs with the Washington Capitals on a 5-year deal at $9.5 million. It's a little bit longer than I thought it might be, and it's slightly less on the cap hit than I thought it would be as well. The most common rumor we had heard was 4 times 10, so it's pretty close to that. But obviously playing for 5 more years, obviously that says he probably does want to give it his best shot to break Gretzky's record for most goals. But certainly that's a huge signing for Washington. That Brendan Dillon trade we saw last night was certainly a direct result of that. I certainly thought first thing as soon as Dillon was traded that Ovechkin signing must be getting really close, and they know what they need to free up here for money. So I would not be surprised to see the Capitals make at least one more, if not maybe even 2 moves to try to get some more cap flexibility here. But after everything Ovechkin's done and the consistency and the high level he's played at, there's no way he was going to give them too much of a discount. But to me, a 9.5 AAV for him is really well worth it. So this is a great deal for the Capitals, in my opinion. Now, we also saw a big signing with the Blues in the newly acquired Pavel Buchnevich, who they got from the New York Rangers for Sammy Blais as well as a draft pick. Buchnevich signs a 4-year contract extension. Of course, he was a pending RFA, and his cap hit will come in at $5.8 million. That's a lot of money. That's a little rich if you ask me. I can understand now why the Rangers traded him. I can see, there's a lot of fans out there not happy with the Buchnevich trade on social media. I've seen a lot of Ranger fans complaining about the fact, not even so much that he was traded, but they felt that they didn't get enough of a return. And I guess you could maybe argue that, but I do think Rangers fans, once they get a chance to see him more, will like Sammy Blais. However, this Buchnevich contract, if this is what it's going to cost the Rangers to keep him, I can understand why Drury was going to want to move on. To me, like I said, I thought it's a case of them selling high on an asset. He had a tremendous year last year, needed a new contract. I hope it's not the case, but we often see players in contract years exceed expectations, have a career year, cash in, and then the production seems to drop a little or go down. That's very common. I'm not saying Buchnevich won't try as hard or anything like that, but it just seems to be a trend. So the fact that the Blues paid this and not the Rangers, I'm not really sure it's the worst thing in the world for New York. But to me, he'll be a good player for the Blues, but I do wonder if this contract might be turning out to be a little bit too much money in the not too distant future. They're also rumored to be trying to keep Mike Hoffman as well, and it was speculated that he could actually get a bit of a raise and a little bit more term than last time with St. Louis as well. So we'll see if that actually works out or if he hits the open market tomorrow afternoon. The Vancouver Canucks signed newly acquired forward Conor Garland as well. He gets a 5-year deal, shy of $5 million at $4.95 million. Now, one good thing about this contract, there is no trade protection and no signing bonuses. So that's obviously good for the team. That might seem like a little bit of a higher value as well for Garland, but he's been an incredibly productive player, kind of flying under the radar in Arizona the past couple of seasons. He's going to get a chance to play with a lot more better players. He plays way bigger than what he is. I mean, he's only like 5'10", 165, but he's a guy that you'd never know that's what his size is. He plays like he's about 6'2" and almost 200 pounds. He's not afraid of anything. So there is some concern in that respect that sometimes maybe he could get hurt because he's not afraid. Sometimes you would like him to play a little bit more on the offense and not on the physical side. But, Garland's a player, plays with a ton of energy. I think he'll be a great teammate in Vancouver. To me, he's almost a perfect winger for Bo Horvat. We'll see where they slot him in the lineup, but to me, that would be the ideal spot to put him. I think they'd have, a great similar style of game that they should mesh very well. The guy as well that's, 25 now, put in his time in the minors. He's got a couple of solid NHL seasons under his belt. I know I got to see him play a number of years back when he was still in junior with the Moncton Wildcats. he was an offensive machine in the queue. Now, he's an American-born player from Massachusetts, but he went up and played some junior hockey for a few years in the Quebec League for the Moncton Wildcats, and he had like back-to-back, I think it was around 130, I think it was just shy of actually, like 128, 129 point seasons in Moncton. It was pretty ridiculous what he was able to accomplish there. He was certainly, almost too good for what he was playing against, but at the same time, it took him a little bit longer to get himself acclimated into the pro game to start seeing more success. But I think Vancouver will really love Garland, and if anybody feels this is a little bit too much money, I think in the long term it's going to pay off. Like, he was on pace, if last year would have been a full season, for about 65 points. So if you look at where he could compare against other wingers within the Canucks organization, I think to me it's a pretty decent value myself. And newly bought out player Keith Yandle, formerly of the Florida Panthers, will end up landing with the Philadelphia Flyers on a 1-year contract, $900K, a full no trade clause, so he's there for the full season unless he has to consent to it if there's any talk of a move. But this makes a lot of sense on a couple of different levels. For starters, he's quite familiar with the coach Alain Vigneault, who he played for with the Rangers organization, and one of his best friends is Kevin Hayes, who he also played with in New York, and certainly talked to him a lot about going to Philly. So it makes a lot of sense from a variety of reasons there. We should have probably connected those dots. I'm surprised that there was no rumors about him to Philly. We heard mostly Boston, and there was other teams that were talked about, but nobody really specifically on the Flyers. But they're certainly going to completely revamp blue line. But for Yandle, if he can go in there and be like a third pair guy, play lower minutes and be like a power play specialist, then that'll be just suited perfect for him. They've got enough other D with what they've acquired there that he won't have to play those big minutes like he was trying to do in Florida, and you should be able to limit those defensive mistakes that sometimes get him in hot water with the coaching staff and in a bit of a doghouse, and which is why they were threatening to scratch him at times. If you use them in the right spots and you utilize the player to their strengths, I think he can still be a very effective offensive player, and we'll see how things work out for Yandle with the Philadelphia Flyers. The Boston Bruins seem to be very interested in both Yandle and Suter. Some thought at least one would end up there, but now it's looking like Ryan Suter's got it narrowed down to Dallas and the Islanders. We don't have a decision, at least not as of the recording of this, so we'll see if where he goes, but it looks like the Bruins won't be getting either of those veteran defensemen that they really could have used for that left side of their blue line. So let me know your thoughts on the trade, the buyouts, and the signings here today. We'll discuss further in the comments. If there's more breaking news, we might be back with more videos today. It's just difficult to say what the day will bring. So let me know your thoughts down below. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all the crazy, chaotic news here that we're expected in the next coming days as the NHL silly season is fully underway. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.